Well, I was watching some videos and came across a guy named valueoftruth.org talking about, as a Christian apologist, complaining about people like Cult of Dusty. And then he started to talk about, Strawman. And he even bragged and was proud of the fact that he was using Strawman for his ministry. Now, the few of us that have actually seen his video try to respond asking why he would do that. Why would he intentionally misrepresent a position for his own purposes? And how, intellectually dishonest that actually is. He replied by telling me that he was engaging in logical straw man and not illogical straw man. Now, I have never heard of a logical straw man or an illogical straw man for that matter. Mostly because, well, we know what a straw man fallacy is to begin with. I mean, if you think about the origins, why they call it a straw man, think about it when a farmer has a field and the crows are, generally pecking at the food and all kinds of birds are there. They tend to be more afraid of the humans, so they stay away from the food. So farmers eventually figured out, hey, you know what? If I put up this man of straw and put some farmer clothes on it and, and make it look like me, then the birds will be afraid, won't be going for the food anymore while I'm not there. This is a straw man, and that's pretty much a perfect representation of what a straw man fallacy is. A straw man is, basically a misrepresentation, one that looks very similar to what the original argument is, but it's lacking in certain things. So when I asked him, hey, can you give me a site or a source to this logical straw man, slash illogical straw man? Because maybe there's a logical fallacy or understanding that I just don't, maybe I just don't understand it. I don't know everything. I could be wrong. So he sends me a link to the valueoftruth.org. As soon as I saw that, I thought, oh, it's his own website. Well, maybe he's citing somebody else. Okay, so give him the benefit of the doubt. So I go there, and the whole website is an email exchange between him and somebody else named Chris, explaining the, asking about the straw man and why was he saying that he was so proud to use straw man. Basically, I mean, he didn't say the word proud, but he said, why would he be using this? What good is that for the ministry, etc.? So he says he basically talks that he has his own personal definition of what a logical straw man is. So here's my problem with that initially. It's his own personal definition that he's making up on his fucking own. He just made it up. Because there are committees and all types of smart people that have been meeting up for long periods of time, that are way smarter than us. And they have been coming up together, and they're the ones that have determined this is a logical fallacy, this is a certain term, this is, something that needs to be known. And if people, such as Aristotle and, all the way up to more modern philosophers, if they had said, if they had thought that what value of truth here is trying to push was worth a damn, then they would have already been in there. So maybe he should try and submit that and see how they feel about it. But I have a feeling it probably wouldn't work out too well for him. But let's go see what he has to say. Maybe he still has a valid point. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. He says, a logical straw man is a debate tactic in which the argument is properly represented by a metaphorical puppet or a straw man, which makes it easy for the person refuting the argument to debate from a logical standpoint. Now, the biggest flaw that I find that initially is when he says that it's properly represented. Being that we know what a straw man fallacy is, this goes against the very definition of the straw man fallacy by saying it was properly represented. If it was properly represented, there would not be a problem. Which then, of course, leaves the illogical straw man, which is basically what we've already called a straw man fallacy. Anytime an opponent's position has been misrepresented. To give an example of what he means by a logical straw man, he says the following. If person A claims the red car should never be driven because the tire is flat, person B can refute the claim by making a logical straw man saying something like, you are wrong. If a green car received a flat tire, just fix the flat tire and it can now be driven. Although person B did not directly refute person A's argument against the red car, a logical straw man was made by person B, which gave a good argument for his viewpoint by saying that a green car can be driven once it is fixed. The straw man was a good representation of the argument, and it served well to person A's argument. This is a terrible example because the color of the car is irrelevant to the issue at hand. The issue at hand is that the car's tire is flat. So saying, oh, the red car's tire is flat, and then by responding, oh, well, if a green car gets a flat tire, change it out. You could have just simply removed the reds and green colors, and you would just have the car has a flat tire, therefore it should not be driven. And then the person responding, oh, the car, if you fix the flat tire, then the car is drivable again. He's trying to make some sort of correlation between saying there's a difference between what the person originally said to what the person refuting it said, and by just changing the color, that somehow that, being that it's similar but different, is somehow the same thing as making a straw man. That is incorrect. Then he goes on to say, for the argument of evolution, instead of saying that it's impossible for chimps to evolve into humans, that what a person could say is that it's impossible for chimps to morph into humans, and that would be an example of a straw man, a logical straw man. Bullshit. First off, by the very definition, is by saying we evolve from chimps, already wrong there, which is not what science is saying. Secondly, morph and evolve are two completely different things. Yes, by definition, morph just says a slow, gradual change over time, but the definition for evolution means that a change of the frequency of alleles in a population over time, as in not just one animal morphing into another thing. That's not evolution. Evolution would be, each time there was a new offspring, there was slow change over time. And then finally, that's where the new species, blah, 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 evolution. Not the same thing. So that example itself is an example of what he would refer to as an illogical straw man, but as normal people would refer to as the straw man fallacy. He then goes on to say, the accusations against Christians for using straw man arguments is a means of atheists to sling mud at Christians for the purpose of masking their own tactics of making straw man arguments. It's a diversion attempt. You make straw man arguments is the accusation, but the truth is that the accuser is making true illogical straw man arguments, while the opponent is completely innocent. What we see here is valueoftruth.org saying, basically falling into the tu quo qui fallacy, or the you're doing it too fallacy, which kind of doesn't really count because it's just an assertion that the atheist is straw manning, and that's, it almost is presuming that the atheist is doing that, and that's a shame. So in conclusion, I just want to say, valueoftruth.org, you cannot just make up your own definitions and terms. They have these terms for a reason. You don't get just to make things up to bolster your position so you can continue to strawman the atheist position. Both of your arguments end up failing because one ends up actually being a straw man fallacy, and the second one, where the dissimilarity lies with the red and the green color, which allows the metaphor which you're hoping for your logical straw man, which actually is irrelevant to the claim being made about the flat tire and does nothing to bolster your position to begin with. The long and short of it is this. If you have a metaphor or an allegory to represent somebody's argument, as long as it properly represents it, then it is no longer a straw man. But if it improperly represents it, then you are committing a straw man. There is no such thing as a illogical straw man or a logical straw man, because by definition, a straw man is a logical fallacy. So don't make up shit and assume that we're gonna just let it slide, because we're gonna look it up and go, oh wait a minute, he just made that shit up. Just be honest. Be intellectually honest. How hard is that for you to do? If you have someone's position that you agree with, misrepresenting it, it's not good for you. It makes you look like a douche, especially if you are intentionally doing it and are so proud of it, and you're telling people to do this. You're telling people to basically lie for Jesus, to lie for the ministry. You're not doing Christianity any good. That's all I have to say. This is the Atheist Chef signing off. Peace. He's seen his video. Try to respond, asking why he would do that. Why would he intentionally misrepresent a position for his own purposes? And how, intellectually dishonest that actually is. He replied by Strawman, for that matter. Mostly because, well, we know what a straw man fallacy is to begin with. I mean, if you think about the origins, why they call it a straw man, think about it when a farmer has a field and the crows are, generally pecking at the food. Well, I was watching some videos and came across a guy named valueoftruth.org talking about, as a Christian apologist, complaining about people like Cult of Dusty, but telling me that he was engaging in logical straw man and not illogical straw man. Now, I have never heard of a logical straw man or an illogical. And then he started to talk about, straw men, and he even bragged and was proud of the fact that he was using straw men for his ministry. Now, the few of us that have actually